82. That's the number. Not 24 Grand Slam titles, not 428 weeks at world number 1. 82 main draw Grand Slam appearances, a number that now belongs exclusively to Novak Djokovic, and a number that buried both Roger Federer and Feliciano Lopez in the history books before a single ball was struck against Giovanni Mpetshi Perricard on Philippe Chatrier. Before the first point was played, before the crowd had even finished choosing sides, the record was already his. And yet somehow Djokovic nearly gave that night away. I was watching the first set live, and I'll be honest with you, the body language was wrong from the jump. Djokovic was reading Mpetshi Perricard's kick serve about a frame too late, consistently catching it on the rise, with his backhand jammed into his hip rather than out in front of his body where he does his real damage. On a 215 km/h delivery out wide in the deuce court, Djokovic was lunging, not stepping. And against the server operating at that kind of pace with that kind of spin, lunging is a death sentence. The Frenchman was exploiting something specific. Djokovic's split-step timing was a fraction sluggish, and on a surface where even a fraction costs you dearly, that translated directly into the first set dropping. Now here's the bit that actually bothers me. Djokovic didn't see a single break point in that opening set, not one, on Mpetshi Perricard's serve. That is a damning statistic for a player who built his career on turning return games into psychological warfare. His return positioning was far too conservative, sitting nearly 2 meters behind the baseline on the second serve when he had absolutely no business doing so. Mpetshi Perricard's second delivery wasn't weaponized enough to justify that retreat, and it allowed the big Frenchman to dictate terms from the very first ball of the rally, something top-level opponents simply cannot afford to gift him. But then, and this is why Djokovic is Djokovic, the adjustment came. I was looking at the tape and noticed the shift happen in the third game of the second set. Djokovic began crowding the baseline on return, almost aggressively so, taking 2 steps forward and forcing himself to absorb the pace rather than allow it to overwhelm him. The result was immediate. His returns started finding depth. His cross-court backhand, that legendary flat drive down the line, started threading through the court at angles Mpetshi Perricard simply couldn't recover from. And suddenly the second set had a completely different rhythm. Djokovic's own serve, which had been tentative in the first set with the first serve percentage hovering around 55%, climbed back into the upper 60s. He started deploying his kick serve to the backhand as an offensive weapon rather than just as a safe play, pulling Mpetshi Perricard off the court and creating short ball opportunities with a frequency that simply hadn't existed in the opening set. Before you call this clickbait or dismiss this as a comfortable Djokovic win spun into drama, I need you to understand what squandering 8 breakpoints in a row does to a player's confidence in this era. 8. He created 8 breakpoint opportunities in the second set and converted 0 of them before finally finding the breakthrough. That sequence is an indictment of his mental game at this stage of his career, and I'm not going to pretend otherwise. The approach shots were there. The openings were there. But he was overcooking the inside-out forehand on 4 of those 8 break points, trying to rip it too close to the sideline under pressure rather than trusting the cross-court margin he'd earned. A younger Djokovic converts 3 of those 8 in his sleep. This version is carrying something, either fatigue, rustiness, or a technical habit born from his injury history, and it showed. What rescued him was not brilliance. I want to be direct about that. Mpetshi Perricard began suffering what appeared to be hand cramping in the third set, and the Frenchman's serve, that thunderous weapon that had been untouchable for a set and a half, visibly deteriorated. His first serve speed dropped by roughly 20 km/h at its worst, his toss became inconsistent, and that ferocious flat delivery to the tee that had been wrong-footing Djokovic all night suddenly had no venom. It was at that point that Djokovic did what elite champions do. He smelled the opening and accelerated through it without mercy. His court coverage, which had looked slightly labored in the first set, sharpened considerably. He was sliding into his defensive forehand with genuine authority, recycling rallies with a patience that ground the physically compromised Mpetshi Perricard into dust. The fourth set was not close. Now here's what the coaching community is genuinely talking about. I've seen it circulating in analytical circles and amongst people who watch this sport seriously. The concern about Djokovic at 39 is not his tennis IQ that remains arguably the sharpest on the entire tour. The concern is load management over 2 weeks. He can adjust, he can problem solve, he can weather a storm on a given night. But can he sustain the baseline aggression, the court coverage, and the service game execution necessary to survive 5 sets against Jannik Sinner if they meet in the latter rounds? That is the real question hanging over this campaign, and Tuesday's first set did not answer it reassuringly. Jim Courier, covering the match for TNT Sports, was right to call for applause when he flagged the record. He missed a few. He has not had a completely straight run at it. That is an amazing achievement to go with so many. And Courier's right. The missed slams through injury and the political controversies that cost him tournament entries actually make the 82 appearances more remarkable. not less. Federer played in an era of near-perfect physical management. Djokovic has been suspended, injured, banned, and written off repeatedly, and he still surpassed him. But appreciation cannot shield him from what's coming. Next up is Valentin Royer, another French player, another crowd that will be against him from the first point, another player with something to prove on home soil. Djokovic needs a cleaner, more assertive first set from that match. The return positioning has to be bolder. The breakpoint conversion rate cannot remain at the floor level it hit against Mpetshi Perricard, and frankly, the serve needs to be more varied. He was too reliant on the flat delivery wide in the advantage court in tense moments. Royer will have watched that footage, and any competent coach will have identified the pattern. I was looking at the tape from Djokovic's 2023 Roland Garros campaign, a title run, and the difference in his return stance alone is striking. 3 years ago, he was practically daring opponents to serve at him, standing inside the baseline with total conviction. What I'm seeing now is a more cautious version, a player who has learned, perhaps through physical necessity, to be a little more conservative with his body. That caution is understandable. It is also dangerous in a draw where Sinner is the favorite, where Carlos Alcaraz is lethal on clay, and where the margins at this level are brutally thin. My 3-month read on this is unambiguous. If Djokovic reaches the second week with his body intact and finds the return form that made him the greatest clay court returner in history, he is the only player on this planet with the tactical intelligence to neutralize Sinner's serve plus forehand combination. His ability to absorb pace, to extend rallies beyond the point where any other player would have folded, to construct points with the geometric precision of a chess grandmaster, none of that has left him. But the window is narrow. The body has a vote. The draw has a vote. And 8 wasted break points in a single set at a Grand Slam is a vote that he simply cannot afford to keep casting. 82 Grand Slam appearances, 24 titles. And at 39 years old, on the most demanding clay court in the world, Novak Djokovic is still here, still competitive, still capable, still dangerous. The rest of this draw should not feel comfortable about that. But nor should Djokovic feel satisfied after what Tuesday showed us. The record is his, the title is not yet. And the distance between those two things is where the real story of this Roland Garros is going to be written. Intelligence to neutralize Sinner's serve plus forehand combination. His ability to absorb pace, to extend rallies beyond the point where any other player would have folded, to construct points with the geometric precision of a chess grandmaster, none of that has left him. But the window is narrow. The body has a vote. The draw has a vote. And 8 wasted break points in a single set at a Grand Slam is a vote that he simply cannot afford to keep casting. 82 Grand Slam appearances, 24 titles. And at 39 years old, on the most demanding clay court in the world, Novak Djokovic is still here, still competitive, still capable, still dangerous. The rest of this draw should not feel comfortable about that. But nor should Djokovic feel satisfied after what Tuesday showed us. The record is his, the title is not yet. And the distance between those two things is where the real story of this Roland Garros is going to be written.